This is The Process Shot. I'm Michael. I'm stuck in a haunted movie theater, and based on this movie, I guess I really pissed a ghost off once, and now I'm being punished. Kwaidan is a Japanese horror anthology film made back in 1965 by director Masaki Kobayashi, telling four separate stories of ghostly visitations, apparitions, and the supernatural world beyond our own. There are also very human themes across these stories, from regret and remembrance to making and breaking promises, and even a little bit about the nature of unfinished stories. To say anything more would probably delve into spoiler territory, but the gist of it is that the stories do all come together to illustrate these ideas, as well as to showcase the attitude of Japanese people towards ghosts and spirits. I think that's the idea, at least. Despite having four stories to get through, Kwaidan is able to make each individual entry feel complete. It helps that the film's running length is 3 hours, but even so, it makes good use of that time to flesh out characters and build upon the individual settings of each story. They tend to stick to the human side of existence, in that the ghosts will visit the living, but the living do not come to them. And in this, there's a definite contrast between the two worlds being expressed in the film's color styles. The overall visuals are a bit flat, but the lighting and color choices being made are what make it clear when ghosts have arrived, taking up a saturated and smaller but expressive color palette compared to the natural colors of the human world. Furthermore, each story seems to have its own individual color spread when it comes to these scenes, from monochrome shades of blue and white to warm pastels that seem to mimic sunrises and fire in the sky. Visually, it's all very much presented like a painting, with large strokes of color across backgrounds, a thought which is somewhat expressed in the editing of one of the stories, as it switches between staged flashbacks and painted artworks of those past scenes. As for the rest of the film's elements, they're a bit mixed. Again, cinematography is pretty flat, keeping things visible in wide shots that move slowly across areas, if at all. Editing also prolongs these moments of slowness, with long takes that emphasize the quietness and emptiness of settings, save for whoever might be within a scene at the time. It's also helpful in both building up tension when events start to take a turn for the worse, as well as calming things down and bringing the characters and audience into a state of comfort, which in itself comes around later to pull the rug out from under them. On a similar note, Kwaidan also uses a very minimalist score throughout its runtime, again highlighting quietness and silences within settings when absent, while adding, if not creating, a sense of uneasiness or confusion in its actual presence. These all come together to give the film a sense of serene realism, which make the appearances of spirits that much more unusual and frightening. But, again, it's pretty slowly paced and a bit drawn out, and I feel like the film could have been a bit faster while still getting the same effect to come through. In any case, Kwaidan is still rather fascinating, not only in its visual presentation, but the various ways that these ghost stories are told. In a sense, it actually escalates over time, with the initial story only barely touching upon the nature of ghostly visitations and acts, to those spirits actively interacting with and reacting to the actions of living people. The final story even goes as far to reach out and affect the very writer of the story, perhaps a metaphor for the ability of ghost stories to affect an audience on some level, even when they feel themselves to be completely out of any harm's way, illustrating the very power that ghost stories can have. Or something like that. Kwaidan, Masaki Kobayashi, 1965. 4 stars. I definitely recommend giving it a watch. It's pretty long, though, so you'll probably want to set aside some time for it. Still a good ride, though. Anyways, that's it for this review. If you liked it, leave a like. If you didn't, leave a comment. Subscribe to the channel for more reviews in the future. I gotta figure out what to do to apologize to whatever ghost stuck me here. Do ghosts like theater popcorn?